Welcome to the debate. So imagine you could program an AI to just completely, perfectly find the perfect television show for you.
Right, like a personalized algorithm.
Exactly. One with, brilliant writing, really complex characters, and zero ideological messaging.
Sounds like the absolute dream.
Right. It sounds amazing. But what happens when the algorithm realizes that the only way to meet your standard of, I guess, quote unquote, good art is to just completely erase the modern American world?
Yeah, it's a fascinating premise.
It really is. So today we are examining this really interesting essay. It's titled To Netflix or Not to Netflix by Lev Nemodin.
hmm
And the entire narrative, it centers around the author presenting his position through his interaction with an AI advisor.
Right, an AI chatbot, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. He's on this quest to find what he calls intelligent drama on Netflix. But he argues that this goal is just fundamentally incompatible with contemporary American television.
Because of the culture around it?
Because of the culture. He feels it's just saturated with political correctness, vulgarity, and what he specifically calls DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It is a really provocative piece, and I think the core question we need to untangle today is this. Does the author's narrative actually expose a genuine, structural decline in the intellectual rigor and moral ambiguity of contemporary prestige television?
Right.
Or, and this is where I land, is the author simply using this concept of artistic nuance as a sophisticated shield to avoid contemporary cultural realities that he just personally dislikes?
I mean, I hear that, but I think Namatin actually nails something really profound here about the structural flaws in modern media.
You really think so?
I do. Because when you stay with the narrative, you see this incredibly compelling demonstration of how contemporary television frequently just sacrifices genuine psychological complexity and moral ambiguity in favor of spoon-feeding the audience these prescribed ideological lessons.
Well, and I look at this exact same text, and I see something just entirely different. I'd argue that the author's rejection of modern media is rooted in a highly subjective discomfort with contemporary norms.
Subjective how?
Well, he's taking his personal distaste for modern social realities, and he's basically inaccurately rebranding it as an objective lack of artistic merit.
Okay, well, let's look at how the author actually builds his case, because he establishes a very specific, a very rigorous standard for what constitutes intelligent drama.
He definitely has a checklist.
Right, he does. And to be clear, our focus today has to be, it's not you, it's me talking.
Right.
We need to stay with the narrative. We shouldn't editorialize it or try to psychoanalyze the writer outside the bounds of the text.
Fair enough. Stick to the text.
Exactly. We have to look at the author presenting his position. And the position he presents to the AI defines intelligent drama as a story that just assumes the viewer can tolerate ambiguity. It's a space where intelligent people behave for intelligible reasons. And crucially, he argues it must avoid dividing the world into characters we are instructed to approve of versus those we are, instructed to condemn.
The good guys and bad guys clearly labeled.
Yes. The plot has to arise from competing interests, not from some heavy-handed screenwriter manipulation.
I mean, look, it's a great definition on paper. I'll give you that.
Exactly. It's a great definition. And it's a profound diagnosis of where modern television fails. Like in the narrative, the AI initially recommends the critically acclaimed show The Diplomat.
Right. Huge hit.
Huge hit. But the author rejects it. And eventually the AI actually concedes his point.
Well, the AI is programmed to agree with him eventually, but sure.
But look at what the AI admits. It admits that The Diplomat relies on speed, banter, and melodrama to manufacture sophistication, rather than offering true intellectual depth.
Right.
The author is pointing out that we've replaced genuine dramatic tension with just the mere aesthetic of intelligence.
The aesthetic, yeah.
The snappy, Sorkin-esque walk and talk that looks really smart but is actually incredibly shallow when you dig into it.
The text certainly frames it that way. I'll agree with you there. But if we're staying strictly with the narrative, like you said, we have to look really closely at the specific moments the author actually rejects the art.
Okay.
Because the application of his philosophy tells a very different story than the philosophy itself. Let's focus on his reaction to the British thriller Black Doves.
Right, the AI recommends that next.
Yes. And the author states he hit a quote-unquote kill switch moment when a homosexual storyline was introduced.
Right.
His exact words in the text, and this is important, are that he understands homosexuality but does not want it, quote, in his face, on the screen.
Yeah, that's what he says.
That is the pivotal moment of the essay for me. It completely reveals that the author's filter isn't actually about a lack of intellectual rigor in television programming.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. It's about his personal inability to tolerate contemporary sexual and social realities. He categorically dismisses these realities as vulgarity. He is just using the elevated language of artistic critique to mask what is really a very basic demand for ideological comfort.
Okay, I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on what's happening mechanically in that interaction.
Go for it.
We have to understand how the author, presenting his position, defines preachy versus intellectual storytelling.
Okay.
When the AI first recommends The Diplomat, the author watches what? 10 to 15 minutes of it?
Barely anything, yeah.
And he rejects it as too politically correct.
Right.
So the AI recalibrates and suggests Black Doves, The Night Agent and Bodyguard. The author is structurally looking for art that avoids dividing the world into these clear ideological camps.
But he's using...
Wait, look at the AI's own admission here.
Okay.
The AI explicitly agrees that true drama shouldn't constantly stop to explain what the enlightened viewer is supposed to think.
Right. Nobody likes being preached to.
Exactly. That is a structural argument about the mechanics of modern screenwriting. When art prioritizes a moral lesson over character consistency, it ceases to be drama.
And becomes propaganda.
Exactly. It becomes propaganda. Modern writers often feel this overwhelming, almost desperate responsibility to clarify the moral standing of their characters so the audience doesn't get the quote-unquote wrong idea. The author is just rebelling against that.
But look at the sequence of events. The AI initially described The Diplomat as an intelligent adult political thriller with sharp writing.
Right.
The author dismisses it after 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, he didn't even finish the pilot episode.
Well, you can tell pretty quickly.
He barely saw the stage being set. He dismissed it because the vibe didn't align with his worldview. We really have to question whether the word preachy in this narrative is just a catch-all term for any show that includes perspectives he defines as DEI.
I don't think it's just a catch-all.
But how can you judge a show's moral ambiguity in 10 minutes?
Because
He doesn't give the narrative time to demonstrate its complexity. He assumes its contemporary setting automatically means it lacks it.
But that's exactly how television works now. The heavy hand of the writer is felt instantly. Like within 10 minutes, you can feel the rhythm of the dialogue acting as a vehicle for a contemporary talking point, rather than emerging organically from the character's internal reality.
You think it's that obvious?
Oh, absolutely. The author presenting his position is simply refusing to participate in an exchange, where the screenwriter treats the audience like, students in a lecture hall.
Right.
He's demanding that art respect the viewer's intelligence rather than spoon-feeding them an approved moral lesson.
See, I come at it from a completely different way. The author is demanding a very specific ideological lesson.
How so?
Just one that perfectly aligns with his own comfort zone. When he tells the AI he wants something, quote, not politically correct, he isn't providing a standard for good writing.
I mean, he is, though. He's asking for subtlety.
No, he's providing a negative filter. He isn't saying, give me complex, contradictory characters. He's saying, remove the contemporary social dynamics I find grating.
Well,
And the AI, being a subservient large language model, it immediately translates this into finding shows that just don't challenge the author's pre-existing social framework.
but it does challenge him, just differently.
The AI says it will find something that isn't trying to teach an approved moral lesson, sure. But what the AI is actually doing mathematically is mapping away from modern culture entirely.
I think that mapping away...
The author wants a show that implicitly affirms his own older moral lessons.
Okay, but that negative filter actually brings us right to how the author defines nuance and restraint in art, which is crucial here.
Okay, let's look at that.
In the narrative, he lays out a highly specific aesthetic philosophy. He says he views art as, quote, always nuanced, never explicit, hints, not verbatim, no need for vulgar language or scenes spelled out to the smallest detail.
Hints, not verbatim. Right.
Yes, he longs for the caliber of shows like Homeland and The Blacklist. His position is that explicit content, whether that is graphic violence, overt sexuality, or vulgar dialogue, it actually diminishes the intellectual puzzle of a show.
It removes the mystery for him.
Exactly. True tension lives in what is unsaid. It lives in the restraint.
Okay.
And this philosophy is perfectly validated when he ultimately selects the Swedish show The Breakthrough, which the AI explicitly describes as restrained, procedural, and refreshingly uninterested in making every scene exciting.
Right.
That is a plea for psychological maturity in a media landscape that is just obsessed with constant in-your-face stimulation.
Look, it's easy to praise restraint in the abstract. It sounds very intellectual, but we have to deconstruct that philosophy by looking at how he actually applies it in the text.
Okay,
Let's go back to that kill switch moment in Black Doves.
I knew we'd come back to this.
We have to. The author says the show started intriguingly, but then, quote, the sexual line cut in, which activated his kill switch.
Right.
He then specifically writes, I understand homosexuality, but I do not want it in my face on the screen. He demands that it only exist as hints.
Because he prefers restraint.
Demanding that marginalized identities only exist as hints is not a plea for artistic nuance. It's a demand for erasure.
I think that's a bit strong.
Think about it. If a heterosexual romance was depicted on screen, would he consider its mere existence to be a lack of nuance? Probably not, considering he praises older shows that are full of explicit heterosexual dynamics.
But it's about how it's portrayed.
He's conflating his personal distaste for seeing a gay relationship with an objective standard for explicit or vulgar art.
I'm just not convinced by that line of reasoning because the author makes a very clear distinction between explicit vulgarity and mature storytelling throughout the entire exchange.
Does he, though?
Yes, he isn't just isolating one marginalized identity. He is filtering out a specific kind of modern noise across the board.
Noise being things he doesn't like.
Noise being a lack of subtlety. He wants psychological tension, not graphic shock value. Like in the text, the AI notes that Black Doves has considerably more violence than The Diplomat.
True.
The author is reacting to a modern television formula that relies on being in your face with absolutely everything. Violence, sex, politics, all of it.
Everything is turned up to 11.
Exactly. So when he tells the AI he wants no need for vulgar language or scenes spelled out to the smallest detail, he's expressing a cohesive artistic preference for subtlety. It's the difference between a cheap jump scare and a really well-crafted slow burn thriller. He just wants the slow burn.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that.
Why not?
Let me tell you why. He isn't asking for artistic subtlety. He is asking for a return to a specific era's moral norms, and he explicitly tells the AI this.
Where?
Look at the text where he adds his final defining qualifier to the machine. He writes, quote, I do not want moral norms of today, specifically in sex, and cannot stand vulgarity and, as I said before, political correctness and DEI.
Okay, yes, he says that.
He explicitly links contemporary moral norms, DEI, and vulgarity into one massive, undesirable category.
Because they often travel together in modern writing?
He is not saying, I want a nuanced portrayal of contemporary life. He is saying, I do not want contemporary life portrayed.
I mean, that isn't an artistic standard. That's an ideological quarantine.
Okay, but let's look at the result of that quarantine, because this leads to the climax of the narrative, which is the complete elimination of American prestige television from his queue.
Right, the AI just gives up on America entirely.
To meet the author's criteria, no contemporary sexual ideology, no DEI, no modern moral norms, the AI concludes they must abandon American political thrillers altogether.
Which is telling. The AI directs him to Swedish shows like Caliphate and The Breakthrough, Israeli shows like Fauda, or just older productions. The AI notes this eliminates a surprisingly large portion of contemporary American TV.
Right.
Which the author notes makes him a bit sad seeing himself as a minority. But we have to emphasize the AI's validation of the author's position here.
Validation?
Yes. The AI explicitly notes that shows like Caliphate and Fauda are genuinely morally uncomfortable and psychologically adult.
Right, but why does the AI say that?
Because the AI recognizes that in those shows, people make comprehensible decisions that produce terrible consequences.
Well,
The characters aren't acting as, quote, pieces positioned to deliver a moral or as ideological representatives.
okay.
They are acting like flawed humans caught in geopolitical meat grinders. By applying his rigorous filter, the author actually successfully isolated a systemic shift in American media.
You think he proved it?
Yes, he proved that contemporary American TV has become structurally incapable of producing morally complex, non-ideological drama. The filter worked.
I read that completely differently. I really do. You're giving the AI way too much credit as an objective arbiter of art.
It's analyzing narrative structure.
The AI didn't validate an objective truth about American television. The AI simply learned how to filter the world to the author's exact rigid specifications. We have to remember how large language models actually work.
They synthesize information.
Me for prestige television.
Exactly. Because prestige TV has lost its meaning.
Or because prestige TV means critically acclaimed art, and the AI recognized it had to stop looking for what the broader culture defines as good and start looking for content that avoids the moral norms of today.
Right.
The AI says it's looking for something politically unafraid, but in the context of this specific interaction, politically unafraid just mathematically means unconcerned with contemporary American social dynamics.
But the resulting recommendations are undeniably complex. Look at Fauda.
Sure.
The AI describes Fauda as a show where Israelis and Palestinians aren't merely at pieces positioned to deliver a moral, but where loyalties, family, and professional duty constantly collide in just devastating ways.
It's a heavy show.
It is, and that is the very definition of high art. The author's filter, even if you argue it stems from personal discomfort with American politics, it yielded a fundamentally superior structural recommendation.
Superior for him?
It stripped away the superficial banter and melodrama of The Diplomat and found a show that is considerably more psychologically adult. The text shows the author presenting his position using the AI to navigate through a sea of mediocrity and successfully finding actual intellectual depth.